Hey folks, how are you doing? Right on schedule tonight. Kinda, sorta. Technically starting just a few minutes late, but way better than it's been. Good to have you here. Jamie, good to see you as always. I was hoping you'd stop by tonight. Felt bad I wasn't able to get the stream going on time the other night. We missed one another. But yeah, glad to have you here. So, let's see. Man, there's been a lot going on. I've been talking about getting 10-ton Ogden up and running again. Today ended up being the day I went through and was cleaning up OBS. I think all the details would be boring, but basically upgrade to the latest OBS, which is really nice. So far, I haven't had any issues yet. You do have to update, like if you're using Elgato Stream Deck, you have to do some manual stuff to update the plugin, and even that wasn't bad. Very straightforward. But yeah, so 1010 was in a state. There wasn't anything usable. I had to go through and figure out where all the graphics were and everything. Got all that, most of it lined up. There's still some stuff. I still got to program the Stream Deck by tomorrow morning. That shouldn't be too bad. I think they've kind of stripped it down. And no worries. No, don't worry, man. You need rest. You get rest. Better that you get rest. That is a better option than what I've been choosing. I've been up till 4 or 5 in the morning every night for a while again. And here's the thing. I'm actually loving it. I love being busy this way, pouring myself into all these different things. And 1010, I'm trying to, I'm starting off simple. I'm starting off even simpler than it used to be. Like the graphics, the same graphics I used to use are back. The transitions are there. Like it looks like the stream used to. I'm looking for, it's going to be fun to dust them off. But I want to take him further. I want to do some stuff with him this time that I didn't do before. And for anyone who's watching the stream who has no idea what I'm talking about, 10 Ton Nodin was a character I used as a game streaming channel, whatever you want to call it, on YouTube and Twitch. And rather than playing games here and then also switching over and trying to do literary stuff, I'm just going to keep literary stuff here, reserve 10 Ton for the games. But then I'm also like, I'm looking to hire a professional artist to redo 10 Ton's character. I want to build a Hololive, good. Oh, I'm tired and now I'm embarrassed too. Not Hololive. I don't think I'd fit in very well with, Dura and the gang. But anyway, a live 2D avatar, better animation where maybe I can actually turn my head side to side. I'm trying to put some money together to get a used iPhone for better face tracking. Like I want to push it a little bit. And so along those lines, I'm actually also writing a little bit of a backstory for 10 Ton. Not that I'm going to play him as a deep character or something, but just to kind of have some fun with it and so that when I reach out to artists, I can kind of say, look, here's the theme, here's the background story. Like hopefully this will speak to you and kind of tell you what I'm looking for. Mid-century modern cartoon sort of graphics, this guy who was created as a mascot for some kind of ridiculous company that went under in 2 minutes flat and then it got repurposed to be the host of a kids cartoon show or something and hated it. Something along those lines. But I've been working a lot on that. I have been working on the blog. The blog for this channel is off to a solid start. I'm getting some really good feedback on it. I'm going to take part of what I do tonight and put it out there. Short Story Saturday went great. I think 4 solid hours of back and forth writing. Definitely not 4 hours of just writing. There were some good breaks in between and that, but still, I got most of a draft of a short story done. I feel like it's still missing its core idea, but it's enough to, as I transcribe it and put it down on paper, I've got a couple different ideas that I think will come, one of which will come out and kind of win over the others. It's been good. It's been really, really productive. It's been a lot of fun. I feel like I'm finally doing what I set out to do. And the one thing I did not expect from all this is that the streaming the literary stuff is actually making me write more, not less. I kind of wondered if it might not be a distraction from me getting writing done. But it's been great. I've actually been putting in more time writing these last few weeks than I have in a long time. Like I write every day no matter what. I've written every day for on the order of 4 years or so. But honestly, a lot of that time has been like it's the last thing I do in the day. I'm super exhausted and the writing just isn't that great. It isn't very productive. The 20-minute sprints on this channel have been a huge help, so I'm looking forward to more of that. It does mean an interest of making good use of time tonight because I've got another stream planned for a good part of the day tomorrow on 10 Ton. It means I've got to kind of focus here and get through stuff. So we'll jump in here pretty quick. It makes you think of some like Pinky the Brain and Maniac side character. Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Yep. Think Pinky the Brain kind of crossed with some John Triffalusi, although I don't know how that's how you say his name. That's what it looks like on paper. The guy who did Ren and Stimpy. He did a creepy version of that, like mid-century modern sort of vibe. He did this like kind of gross and insane version of it. Not quite what I'm going for, but anyway. On that note, so I did for the first time. I reached out to some folks on Twitter. I just kind of put a call out and said, "Hey, I'm looking for." Just like I've been saying, mid-century modern cartoon. Looking for a character sheet. If if you're interested, let me know. I have to say it did not go well, and didn't go well for a couple different reasons. Now before that, I actually looked for artists in that style and couldn't find anyone on Twitter. Like literally typed mid-century modern, and I can't remember what the other term was, but anyway, nothing came up. When you look at people who are doing live 2D avatars, VTuber avatars, that kind of thing. I hate to say it, but there's like one main style, which is, you know, like big-eyed cute anime girl of one kind or another. And then there's sort of an offshoot that is maybe kind of like a very uniform sort of theme of, I don't know what to call it, kind of like just cute cartoon animals and stuff. Nothing that varies from that, you know. So I couldn't find anything, so I made that post and got a lot of responses. Got a lot of responses from people who either had no portfolio to show or had a portfolio that looked nothing like I was describing. And there were a couple there that seemed a little like I responded to everyone. I went through and gave at least some kind of minimal response to every single person who inquired, and talked to one more in depth, and went and she was nice enough to send me links to a bunch of the things that she had done. I went around looking at things. It just didn't feel great. Like, given how much it would cost, it felt like it was really rolling the dice. Didn't want to do it. So I let her know today, like, sorry, I'm not going to. She was not pleased, but I understandably can't blame her. Although if you're doing that kind of business, it's going to be like that. Sometimes people will look at the work and you'll have the conversation and then you'll say, nope, thank you. We decided to go elsewhere. There's a website that's full of people that made different things like that, but you can't think of the name. Well, see, so I went out and I checked Pixiv, which is Pixiv, and found, again, nothing. In fact, I hate to say it, but the one I found that was doing mid-century modern that looked anything like that, I thought, oh, okay, so I went and looked at their other work, and I'm not going near them. I'm not going within 2 miles of their work. It was not just mature themed, it was mature creepy. Like, I won't say what. Never mind. I'm not going to say what. But it was like, oh, nope, I'm out. Given that was most of my experience on Pixiv, I just ditched it. Went over to DeviantArt. DeviantArt has a lot of folks on there. Found a guy who is accepting commissions and absolutely has lots and lots of stuff in this style. Some really good stuff. He does things based that he kind of themes off of either cartoons or off of movies, kind of like movie poster styles. All of it is squarely in this sort of wheelhouse, you know what I mean? Yeah, Fiverr, I've heard some people kind of the little bit I've heard so far dissuaded me from going there. I don't remember the particular reasons, but like I might take a look if DeviantArt doesn't work out, but we'll see. Anyway, it was fun talking to a lot of people. There was one other person who I enjoyed seeing their work just because it was really good. And they were the most professional, polished artist out of the entire list. She listed out, like she had a bunch of sample work. She very wisely put watermarks over all her work. That was one thing. A lot of people I talked to were like, no, let me DM you. Your DMs are closed. I'm like, no, like I'm not opening my DMs in general just so that I can get spammed out of existence. Nope, not going there. Why don't you send me like there's no link to your portfolio on your profile. Do you have anything you can show? And there are a couple that were like, well, there's one in particular actually that said I've had things stolen so I don't show it. I'm like, well, like, okay, sorry you had some work stolen, but at the same time I'm thinking there are ways around that. There are things you can do to make it so that people can't just take the work, off of what I get the concern, but I think there's solutions. Well, this other person had done that. She had work online, but she had watermarks over it, so it was, you could very easily see what she did, but it was also unusable unless you were content to steal something that looked like garbage because it had logos all over it, But she also listed her prices for basic things. She had a really complete price list that was, I think she's underselling herself, honestly. She was also one of the least expensive of the people I saw. She also had a very clear list of what she will or won't do. Like, it was like, bingo, man. You made good use of your time and mine. Super professional. I don't feel like this is a good match because I'm looking for a very particular style and you don't do it. And I'm not going to ask you as an artist to go do something that isn't in what you do, But I was impressed. Like if I ever had to do a project with that kind of thing, I would absolutely look her up again. But there was one of those out of everyone. Everyone else was some combination of, no, I don't want to show you my work. Let's talk price. I'm like, no. Come on, be professional. That's enough of that, though. 1010 will be showing up probably in a test stream later tonight, and then officially tomorrow as I stream the Tomorrow Children, as it is being released tomorrow. Looking forward to it. I've actually got a Tomorrow Children project that I want to do, which I can't talk a lot about because of what it is. That I haven't been able to pay any attention to over the last week. Like, I have had 5 days off this week. Tomorrow's the 5th. The fifth day off, that is. And I have filled them all up, either with like collapsing from being too tired from working too late, or just working, getting stuff done. And I'm barely getting through my list here, which again I love, but man, I'm tired. So we'll see how this goes. All right, straight in. We're going to do some warm-up reading here. Now, I have selected literary because I found a couple reasons. One, that's what I'm trying to write. Two, I actually liked the selections better last time. It doesn't mean that this is all I'm going to do. If there's one that we decide we want to do for fun, if we want to do some more horror or some other genre or something, we can try that too, because this should be kind of fun. In fact, why don't we do that? If we're going to do that, let's do that first, so that then I'll save the literary one for right before I switch over to writing sprints. Now, the problem is you can't really see, or you can't see them at all on the screen because of the window pop-up, the way it works. That's weird. Okay, so we've got adventure, we've got, we're not doing children's, crime, dystopia, fantasy. I'm not going to like the fantasy stuff if we do that, but I'm willing to give it a try if people want to do it. Historical, same thing. I'm not a history fan. Horror, humor, inspirational, no. Literary, magical realism, but when I picked magical realism, I think they had all of 3 titles listed. Oh, it's nuts. Oh, shoot. Oh, rats. All right. Sorry about that. Let me check some of the other channels. Let me check YouTube Direct and see if it's going through there. Oh, yeah, it didn't show up on the main YouTube feed either. That's odd. Seems fixed now, though. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see, what other genres do we have? Mystery. Let's see, romance. I'm really not inclined to do. Sci-fi. Thriller. War or young adult. Any of those sound fun? Never done adventure. I don't even know what would fall under adventure. Let's do one adventure one. Just realized I don't have any fresh tea to kind of warm up my throat. Okay. Let's see. The music room in the governor's house at Port Mahon. Port Mahon. Like, here's the thing: if that were MCMAHON, that would be McMahon. Port Mahon, I guess. War might be interesting. Yeah. Here, let's see what shows up. Now, if war turns out to be history, I'm going to ditch it, because, like I said, I'm not a history buff. More than being not a history buff, I'm really not. Let's see. Okay, this sounds interesting. Don't know if this is fiction or nonfiction. That's fine. Let's just go ahead and we'll read through it and see how it goes. All right, switcheroo. Papa Jack's Emporium, London, 1917. The Emporium opens with the first frost of winter. It is the same every year. Across the city, when children wait to see ferns of white stretched across their windows or walk to school to hear ice crackling underfoot, the whispers begin. The Emporium is open, Christmas is coming, and the goose is getting fat. If at a certain hour on a certain winter night, you too had been wandering the Warren between New Bond Street and Avery Row, you might have seen it for yourself. One moment there would be darkness, only the silence of shops shuttered up and closed for business. The next, the rippling snowflakes would part to reveal a mews you had not noticed before, and along that mews, a storefront garlanded in lights. Those lights might be but pinpricks of white, no different to the snowflakes, but still they would draw your eye. Lights like these captivate and refract the darkness. Lights like these can bewitch the most cynical of souls. Watch out, because here one such soul comes, hurrying out of the night. He's a barrel of a man, portly to those who would look on him kindly, corpulent to those who would not. Outside the emporium, he stops and gazes up, but this is not the first time he's been enchanted by these lights. So he steps through the door to be met by the whirlwind smells of cinnamon and star anise. Ribbons of navy blue stream apart, and in the vaulted ceiling above, miniature bells tinkle, spiriting up memories he has tried hard to forget. Sleigh rides through parts too painful to remember, wassailing on the village green, Christmases in better, more innocent times. Come, go in after him. You would not be the first. Children are already tugging on their parents' hands. A pair of young lovers hurry to make secrets of their gifts to one another. An old man unwinds his scarf as he hobbles in, if only to feel like a boy again. If you follow after, there will be much to see. He's already disappearing into the throng when you come through the doors. What had seemed a tiny shop from without reveals itself to be a grand labyrinth within. At your feet, a miniature locomotive glides past on rails set in the floor, and beyond that each aisle explodes into a dozen others. Floors stacked upon floors like the illusion of a master mathematician. Shoppers disappear along one aisle only to reappear bewildered on the galleries above. It would be easy to get lost in a place like this, but the man we're following knows the way. Alone among the shoppers, he does not stand to gawk at the displays, and nor must we. There will be time for lingering later. For now, do not let yourself get distracted by the bears whose eyes follow you from every shelf, nor the tin soldier who stands to attention as you pass. He's only playing a parlor trick to tempt you into taking him home. Forget for a moment the whinnying of the hobby horses eager to be ridden. If you see a doorway through which there lies a wintry grove, bedecked in lights, do not give it a second glance. Keep your eyes on the man in front, for he is almost at his destination. Come closer now, that we might listen. Interesting. Again, this makes me want to check yep, we picked war. I'm glad it didn't jump to the next one. That would have been a bummer. Need to be careful with that. I have no idea what it is. I'm not sure how this fits into the war. I guess we'll see maybe with the title how it fits into the war category. Any guesses? The other thing too, actually, before I'm done, I really love the prose in this. It's not overly ornate. It has some really nice rhythm to it. Some really, really nice sections. Let's see. Good use of rhythmic alliteration. Very often when alliteration is used in text, it's a little too plodding. Someone basically treats alliteration as, we'll just have a run of words that all start with the same letter or sound. You've got no idea. Yeah, me either. Here, there's a sort of a varying rhythm to it, and that's part of what makes it work really well. He's a barrel of a man, portly to those who would look on him kindly, corpulent to those who would not. First of all, word choice. Great use of rich, descriptive, but not rare or difficult to understand words. They read well too again. Outside the emporium, he stops and gazes up, but this is not the first time he's been enchanted by these lights. So he steps through the door to be met by the whirlwind smells of cinnamon and star anise. The whirlwind is the first sort of, it's self-alliterative, right? Whirlwind smells of cinnamon and star anise. Again, it's not this plodding sort of rhythm, but man, it reads nice. And it's rich imagery, beautiful. Ribbons of navy blue stream apart in the vaulted ceiling above, miniature bells tinkle. Spiriting up memories he has tried hard to forget. Sleigh rides through parts too painful to remember. Wassailing on the village green, Christmases in better, more innocent times. Gorgeous text. All right, let's do the reveal. is The Toy Makers by Robert Dinsdale. Let's take a look and see if it shows up correctly in the bookshop. And it does. I'm blind from the white background, but it does. Is there a dark mode? What site are we on? Bookshop.org. Sign in. What is that? Oh, it's just a cart. Ugh. Help me out here, folks. Yeah, I don't see any kind of way to change it. Anyway. Do you remember when you believed in magic? An enchanting magical novel set in a mysterious toy shop, perfect for fans of Aaron Morgenstern's The Night Circus and Stephanie Darber's Caraval by way of Jesse Burton's The Miniaturist. It's 1917, and while war wages across Europe, there's the war. In the heart of London, there's a place of hope and enchantment. So it's an island of hope in... Right, I know. It's an island of hope in the midst of war, which that's nice. That's a nice offset. So interesting that that's categorized as war, but okay. Yeah, I actually kind of like that. Feels like it would be light reading. It'd be something good to read with a family at Christmas, that sort of thing. So yeah, I'll venture it. I'll go ahead and add that to read. Might read some more reviews later, but so far, so good. All right, next we're gonna rip straight through these. So shall we do another one in war, or let's do one more in war, since that one kind of started off. I don't know. It just felt a little different. So let's try one more. Saturday, 21st of June, 1941, produced a perfect summer's morning. Many Berliners took the train out to Potsdam to spend the day in the park of Sans... Oh dear, names I have no idea how to pronounce. Sans Souci? Others went swimming from the beaches, the Wannsee or the Nittelassee. Oh my gosh. In cafes, the rich repertoire of jokes about Rudolf Hess's flight to Britain had given way to story about an imminent invasion of the Soviet Union. Others, dismayed at the idea of a much wider war, rested their hopes upon the idea that Stalin would cede the Ukraine to Germany at the last moment. In the Soviet embassy on the Unter den Linden, officials were at their posts. An urgent signal from Moscow demanded an important clarification of the huge military preparations along the frontiers of the Baltic to the Black Sea. Valentin Berezhkov, the first secretary and chief interpreter, rang the German Foreign Office on the Wilhelmstrasse to arrange a meeting. Have my son step over and just read all the German words for me. Thank you. Yes, Strasse means street. That much I got, but I still have no idea how to say it properly. He was told that Reichsminister Joachim von Ribbentrop was out of town, and that, oh good heavens, Staatssekretär Freiherr von Weizsäcker could not be reached by telephone, or even by shouting his name, because no one could pronounce it. Sorry, moving on. Let's see, as the morning passed, more and more urgent messages arrived from Moscow, demanding news. There was an atmosphere of repressed hysteria in the Kremlin, as the evidence of German intentions mounted, adding to more than 80 warnings received over the previous 8 months. The deputy head of the NKVD had just reported that there were no fewer than 39 aircraft incursions over the state border of the USSR during the previous day. The Wehrmacht was quite shameless in its preparations, yet the lack of secrecy seems only to confirm the idea in Stalin's convoluted mind that this must all be part of a plan by Adolf Hitler to extract greater concessions. The Soviet ambassador in Berlin, Vladimir Dekhanozov, shared Stalin's conviction that it was all a campaign of disinformation originally started by the British. He even dismissed the report of his own military attaché that 180 divisions had deployed along the border. Fun listening to me say the German words wrong, yeah. The report of his own military attaché on the border. Dekhanozov, a protege of Lavrenti Beria, was yet another Georgian and a senior member of the NKVD. His experience of foreign affairs had gone little beyond interrogating and purging rather more practiced diplomats. Other members of the mission, although they did not dare express their views too forcefully, had little doubt that Hitler was planning to invade. He'd even sent on the proofs of a phrase book prepared for invading troops, which had been brought secretly to the Soviet consulate by a German communist printer. Useful terms included the Russian for surrender, hands up, where is the collective farm chairman, are you a communist, and I'll shoot. Bereskov's renewed telephone calls to the Wilhelmstrasse were met by the statement that Ribbentrop is not here. Nobody knows when he will return. At midday, he tried another official, the head of the political department. I believe something is going on at Führer headquarters. Very probably everyone's there. But the German foreign minister was not out of Berlin. Ribbentrop was busy preparing instructions to the German embassy in Moscow, headed urgent, state secret. Early the next morning, some 2 hours after the invasion began, the ambassador, Count Friedrich Werner von der Schulenburg, was to convey the secret government a list of grievances to serve as the pretext. Man, yeah. You gotta know your German... It wasn't... I don't know that... Was that all German? It looked like there was one in there that by my... This looks like Dutch to me. I don't know. Who knows? Anyway, here's the thing. Like, written very journalistically, which is not bad. It's actually clear in what it's saying. Doesn't really do much for me in terms of the prose. I'm not a World War II buff. This sort of thing is not going to grab my interest anyway. It's fun to try new things. Points for clarity, of course, but yeah, not something I would read. And this is Stalingrad, Antony Beevor. And let's see, this is... The Battle of Stalingrad was not only the psychological turning point of World War II, it also changed the face of modern warfare. Yeah, so it's examining one very focused aspect of World War II. So again, for someone who's into that, cool enough, fun, just not my cup of tea. All right, we're going to switch to literary, do, I think, 2 more, and then switch to writing. Like, we're on a schedule here. We're getting this done. I have to find literary now. What time is it? Yeah, 45 minutes in already, so... There we go. It says literary, we hit save, and we get... Okay. Do not recognize the beginning. Strether's first question... Oh, let's see. It's called Stalingrad. The whole time you were reading it, I had the itch to type that out for some reason. Really interesting. Let's see. Strether's, another one. The very first word is a name I don't know. Strether's first question when he reached the hotel was about his friend. Yet on his learning that Waymarsh was apparently not to arrive till evening, he was not wholly disconcerted. A telegram from him bespeaking a room only if not noisy, reply paid, was produced for the Inquirer at the office, so that the understanding they should meet at Chester rather than at Liverpool remained to that extent sound. The same secret principle, however, that had prompted Strether not absolutely to desire Waymarsh's presence at the dock, that had led him thus to postpone for a few hours his enjoyment of it, now operated to make him feel like he could still wait without disappointment. They would dine together at the worst, and with all respect to dear old Waymarsh, if not even for that matter to himself, there was little fear that in the sequel they shouldn't see enough of each other. The principle I have just mentioned, as operating had been with the most newly disembarked of the two men, wholly instinctive, the fruit of a sharp sense that, delightful as it would be to find himself looking after so much separation into his comrade's face, his business would be a trifle bungled should he simply arrange for his countenance to present itself to the nearing steamer as the first note of Europe. Mixed with everything was the apprehension already on Strathers's part that it would, at best, throughout, prove the note of Europe in quite a sufficient degree. Context depth there is super high. More on that later. The note had been, meanwhile, since the previous afternoon, thanks to this happier device, such a consciousness of personal freedom as he hadn't known for years. Such a deep taste of change and of having, above all for the moment, nobody and nothing to consider, as promised already, if headlong hope were not too foolish, to color his adventure with cool success. There were people on the ship with whom he had easily consorted, as far as ease could up to now be imputed to him, and who for the most part plunged straight into the current that set from the landing stage to London. There were others who had invited him to a tryst at the inn and had even invoked his aid for a look-around at the beauties of Liverpool, but he had stolen away from everyone alike, had kept no appointment and renewed no acquaintance, had been indifferently aware of the number of persons who esteemed themselves fortunate in being, unlike himself, met, and had even independently, unsociably alone, without encounter or relapse, and by mere quiet evasion, given his afternoon and evening to the immediate and the sensible. They formed a qualified drought of Europe, an afternoon and an evening on the banks of the Mersey. Such as it was, he took his potion at least undiluted. He winced a little, truly, at the thought of the way that Waymarsh might be already at Chester. He reflected that, should he have to describe himself there as having got in so early, it would be difficult to make the interval look particularly eager. He was like a man who, elatedly finding in his pocket more money than usual, handles it a while and idly and pleasantly chinks it before addressing himself to the business of spending. That he was prepared to be vague to Waymarsh about the hour of the ship's touching, and that he both wanted extremely to see him and enjoyed extremely the duration of delay. These things, it is to be conceived, were early signs in him that his relation to his actual errand might prove none of the simplest. He was burdened, poor Strether, it had better be confessed at the outset, with the oddity of a double consciousness. There was detachment in his zeal, and curiosity in his indifference. My brain is tired from going up and down too many times. That was like context jumping jacks. And so this tells me this isn't just literary necessarily, this is literary classical, right? This is going to be something from the 19th century, I'm guessing. I don't know when. I would just place it square in the middle and say 1850. Nothing I would read. I'm already tired. It's just, this was the style of the time from what I know. I haven't read enough to really say that authoritatively, but it seems like it was the style of the time. That you have these sentence structures that keep going down, like additional context, and then you get a certain degree, you're 7-8 layers down, and then you've got to roll that context up and get back to whatever the heck your original point was. It's a lot to keep in your head. It reads cleanly. The problem is not really clarity so much as just unnecessary depth. Stylistically, yeah, not my thing. So this is The Ambassadors by Henry James. Funny, okay, so Henry James I know from What Maisie Knew. And I had always... So my original exposure to the story What Maisie Knew was through the film. There's a contemporary film that puts it in contemporary times. I had no idea that What Maisie Knew was actually a late 1800s novel. So I'm guessing this is more late 1800s than mid. But anyway, and I remember going, oh, I didn't know it was a novel. And I went and started reading, and I'm looking at it, and I had the same reaction as here. I'm like, this is sort of a anachronistic style. When was this written? I tell you what, this was not published in 2008. So I will look at the actual original publication date. James the Ambassadors. 1903. Okay, so I was 50 years off, give or take. Novel by Henry James, originally published as a serial in the North American Review. The novel is a dark comedy which follows a trip of protagonist Louis Lambert Strather to Europe to bring the son of his widowed fiancée back to the family business. No thanks. It's one thing maybe to note here is that to me, literary and classical are not fully overlapping categories. I'm not saying this isn't literary necessarily, but it does strike me as being maybe less so. Even the term literary is a relatively sort of modern invention. It feels like it's been retroactively applied to things that people who study literature tend to favor. Like it's more like how some people listen to something and go, oh wow, that's jazz, and you're like, is it really, or is that your way of saying you like it and you approve of it and you think it's sophisticated and worthy and whatnot? So I don't know, more of a question than an answer. I'm curious what qualifies this as literary, aside from the fact that it's old and well received. But yeah, not going on the list. What was the other one on the list? There's that, and then add to favorites. Yeah, no, we're not doing either of those. Okay, again. All right. Yeah, I'm not reading this one because it looks like it is in a similar style. So I'm going to do a quick review. The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. Trollope. 1875. Let's get something a little newer. So hopefully they will add some, what would be nice for the site? Like, hey guy who created the site and maintains it, if you could limit the original publication date by year, that would be awesome. Or even just by decades, that would be really cool. Also, separating fiction and nonfiction, also super awesome idea. So we already have a date here, so unless it was someone in the 19th century writing something futurist, I think we're okay. We can go ahead and read this one. From my first breath in this world, all I wanted was a good set of lungs, and the air to fill them with, given circumstances you might presume for an American baby of the 20th century. Think about your own first gasp, a shocking wind rowling so easily down your throat and you still slipping around in the doctor's hands. How you yowled, not a thing in your mind but breakfast, and that was on the way. When I was born to Helen and Jeremiah Land in 1951, my lungs refused to kick in. My father wasn't in the delivery room or even in the building. The halls of Wilson Hospital were close and short, and Dad had gone out to pace in the damp September wind. He was praying, rounding the block for the 5th time when the air quickened. He opened his eyes and discovered he was running, sprinting across the grass toward the door. How'd you know? I adored this story, made him tell it all the time. God told me you were in trouble. Out loud? Did you hear him? Nope, not out loud, but he made me run, Reuben. I guess I figured it out on the way. I had in fact been delivered some minutes before. My mother was dazed, propped up against soggy pillows, unable to comprehend what Dr. Animus Noakes was telling her. He still isn't breathing, Mrs. Land. Give him to me. To this day, I'm glad Dr. Noakes did not hand me over on demand. Tired as my mother was, who knows when she would have noticed. Instead, he laid me down and rubbed me hard with a towel. He pounded my back. He rolled me over and massaged my chest. He breathed air into my mouth and nose. My chest rose, fell with a raspy whine, stayed fallen. Years later, Dr. Noakes would tell my brother Davy that my delivery still disturbed his sleep. He'd never seen a child with such swampy lungs. When Dad skidded into the room, Dr. Noakes was sitting on the side of the bed, holding my mother's hand. She was wailing. I pictured her as an old woman here, which is funny since I was never able to see her as one. And old Noakes was attempting to ease her grief. It was unavoidable. He was saying nothing to be done. Perhaps it was for the best. I was lying uncovered on a metal table across the room. Dad lifted me gently. I was very clean from all that rubbing, and I was gray and beginning to cool. A little clay boy is what I was. Breathe, Dad said. I lay in his arms. Dr. Notes said, Jeremiah, it has been 12 minutes. Breathe. The picture I see is of Dad, brown hair, short and wild, giving this order as if he expected nothing but obedience. Dr. Notes approached him. Jeremiah, there would be brain damage now. His lungs can't fill. Dad leaned down, laid me back on the table, took off his jacket and wrapped me in it. A black canvas jacket with a quilted lining. I have it still. He left my face uncovered. Sometimes, said Dr. Notes, there's something unworkable in one of the organs, a ventricle that won't pump correctly, a liver that poisons the blood. Dr. Notes was a kindly and reasonable man. Lungs that can't expand to take in air. In these cases, said Dr. Notes, we must trust in the Almighty to do what's best. In which Dad stepped across and smote Dr. Notes with the right hand, so that the doctor went down and lay on his side with his pupils unfocused. As Mother cried out, Dad turned back to me, a clay child wrapped in a canvas coat, and said in a normal voice, Reuben Land, in the name of the living God, I am telling you to breathe. The truth is, I didn't think much on this until a dozen years later, beyond, of course, savoring the fact that I'd begun life in a dangerous and thus romantic manner. When you're 7 years old, there's nothing as lovely and tragic as telling your friends you were just about dead once. It made my dad my hero, as you might expect, wanted my forgiveness for anything that he might do forever, but until later events, it didn't occur to me to wonder just why I was allowed, after all, to breathe and keep breathing. That was good. That I really like. I'll probably go back and study that a little bit just to kind of capture it, because it's something that has to jump forward and back in time. It presents, we're dealing with one scene, but part of it is retrospect, part of it is in the moment, right? I have no idea what it is. Let's see, when I was born, you were a month early. Oh, wow, really? And you needed tubes to breathe, and apparently you were pulling the tubes out whenever they put them in. Yeah, I can imagine it probably didn't feel great, right? Let's see. Peace Like a River by Leaf Anger. Interesting. Let's just do, rather than using their link, because their link is sometimes a little fishy. Not Amazon, not Amazon. Goodreads. Wikipedia. Also blinding, but better content. The novel opens in it's a best-selling novel by Leif Inger. It took the title from the lyrics of the hymn, It Is Well With My Soul, which was performed at his wedding. Inger wrote the novel to amuse his family, taking story suggestions from his children, and giving the lead character asthma to encourage one of his sons, who also has asthma. Well, that's sweet. Opens in 1951 when Reuben Land is born with faulty lungs. One evening, Jeremiah takes Reuben to the new church he's been attending, but Reuben skips out of most of the ceremony to spend time with his crush, Bethany Orchard. When he returns to the main chapel, he finds several people, including his father, speaking in foreign tongues and writhing on the ground. Interesting. So it sounds like it's a slice of life sort of a thing. So here's a family and here's what happened to them. I would like to remember that one. We'll add it to the to read. I'm not feeling too great tonight. I think you're going to go to bed. It's been really... Yeah, likewise. I'm glad you're able to stop by, and I do hope you feel better. Get some good rest. Take care. I don't know if you are off work tomorrow or not. I will be streaming from 10 ton as much of the day as I can. Like, my intent is to stream like all day, but realistically, I don't know that that's really going to happen. I may even start part of the stream later tonight if I'm up for it and the game is available. Just to do a, like, first, like, here we go. It's out. Let's play it. But we'll see. But yeah, take care. Excuse me. Pardon my noise. All right, that's actually Dead Place 2. That's enough of those. I am an hour in. I'm going to take a brief intermission, and then I'm going to get set up to do the writing sprints. We're going to be going to a walk, walk to the clinic tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. Okay. Well, either way, take care. Hope to see you soon. I'll be back on here doing this sort of thing on Wednesday night as well. Wednesday, ordinarily it would be Friday too, but Friday we're going to be unavailable. So, all right. Well, I'm going to take a brief intermission, get this set up, and we'll get to writing. There we go. Hey, how's it going? Good to see you. Hope you're having a good night. And yeah, so in general lately, the writing's been going better. It's funny, I'm spending more time writing, and so it is all at the same time making me feel like I have far less time to do anything in general, which is true, I guess. It feels good. I had to stop writing for today or on another stream, trying to stop a stream from... Oh, whoa. Yeah, no. If someone's going to do that, you do it with prearranged permission, right? Were they reading like the whole thing? Yeah. Definitely something you want to be careful with. And respectful. And oh, geez. Well, I'm glad you found out about it. Well, hopefully that works. Hopefully, I mean, I would hope that if you reached out to them and hopefully they responded okay. They're saying he had Amazon Prime. Oh, good heavens. It's not how that works, folks. I've bought a lot of CDs and LPs and MP3s over the years, and if I play any of those on my stream, the bots will come get me. You know? So it's interesting. I'm curious. So the thing that I do where I do the recommend me a book, that to me falls under this is really more of a question. I think it falls under fair use because it's a very small sample and it is used for purposes of like criticism and that sort of thing, right? Like reviews and criticism. Typically that's okay. Now, we had talked about this before, and I think I agree with you in that, like, if someone, put it this way, if someone puts their stuff on there, they know it's going to be shared in some context, even if it's read privately by an individual. No one should take another person's work and put it on a site like that, you know. But personally, I would go ahead and I would be so far comfortable putting my work on a site like that, knowing that, I mean, the whole point is for people to be able to try it out and read it and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm curious to know how other people feel about that. There is, I still think, a difference that has to be addressed between reading private things, you know, reading to yourself off of a site like that and doing what I do, which is sharing it and then giving some feedback live. So he was calling the stream story time and trying to read the entire story. Yeah, the thing with that is, like, I do the Folklore Friday thing, but those are public domain stories. Those are stories that have gone into the public. They went into the public domain a long time ago. If you want to do story time, do story time. Find works you can share or otherwise make arrangements with an author. Yeah. I'm curious, was it a stream that you normally watch, or did you hear about it through other means? If it was a chapter, you wouldn't mind. Okay. Yeah, because I've thought about the fact that, like, you asked me to read and give feedback on your stuff. Now, my immediate assumption was that's private. I read it on my own, and you and I chat through Twitch or something, and we can exchange feedback that way. If I ever had a thought to read anything online, it would be like, hey, we talked regularly. You know, it's easy enough to reach out and go, so what do you think? But if you say no, more power to you. I respect that, you know. Yeah, well, this is why, on the one hand, I think copyright law can go nuts sometimes in the way that it penalizes certain things. This is the flip side. This is the idea that, you know, people put a lot of work in their livelihood or their compensation or even just their control and ends up getting threatened by someone who just decides on a whim that, hey, it's out there. And, you know, No, you're playing words, and he asked, how did you know so many words? Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. You answered, I'm an author. He looked at my site and started reading. Oh, okay. Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, it's kind of too bad a situation again, because doing a little excerpt with permission would be an awesome thing. Could be really cool. But anyway, yep, that's people sometimes. Well, I'm going to go ahead and, in the interest of time, I'm going to get the first writing sprint going. I've been noticing how much time I spend fiddling with stuff on the streams as opposed to actually getting done. You know, like how many sprints I actually get done compared to how much time I'm on the stream. And while they're still great in that I'm writing a lot more than I was before, I'd like to try to maximize that a little bit. So, not to say we can't chat, but we'll chat kind of while the stream's going, or rather while the sprint's going, or in between. So, but I am glad to have you here. It's always good to catch up, hear how you're doing. All right, we'll get the timer set up here and start her up. Take care. Talk to you in 20. Hey Bobitus, how you doing? excuse me, not a bad sprint. Tightening up something I wrote. Still not sure if it's gonna stick, but I guess that's how it goes, right? Oh man. And Paxmas, yeah. It's one of those, I don't know. It's funny, I've been wanting to do this for a very long time, and I've always just, for one reason or another, like most people I think who do this sort of thing, talk myself out of it. Too busy, this other thing's more important. What I really want to do is, but yeah, been I guess at it or avoiding it long enough that it just came down to like when you strip everything else away, like when you kind of look ahead and think, okay, looking back, what will I be disappointed if I don't at least try? And this was squarely at the top of every list. So here we go. Wrote 2,000 words yesterday for the first time in a while. I really did want to read it as is and just say worms, but I think that would be silly. Today you're starting the outline on another book for funsies. Careful of that. With your own magic system instead of Seth's D&D. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, the world building and magic systems and stuff, I know that something that a lot of people really, really enjoy. I guess I do too. It's funny. I think about it like, well, I'm not really doing fantasies. I'm not doing world building. And that's not at all true. I absolutely am. So I can get where that's fun. Sounds cool. I only allow myself to do the work in progress and some short stories on the odd Saturday. And that's it. If I let myself pursue other ideas, nothing will ever get done. It's just a personal thing. Other people can. Other people can keep a couple different pretty big projects in the air, and more power to you. I can't. So that and the work I do during the day, there's a big enough context switch anyway going from my day job to this that it's already a hard transition. Trying to transition a couple different ways within this kind of work would be, I think, nearly impossible for me. The idea is basically that people can create psychological constructs called servitors that can record their skills and give them to other people. Oh, interesting. I like that idea. I think that's really cool. This is just personal impression. Look for a book called The Writing on the Stone. It's nonfiction and it's actually about computing. Don't know that you would want to read the whole thing, but even if you read the opening page or two, if you do that, let me know what you think. It's by a guy named Daniel Hillis, and he describes computing as basically sort of like magic being done writing on a stone. Anyway, you're talking about you can create psychological constructs called servitors that you can record their skills. That idea of a magic being intertwined with something that you can, something like language or something like it that you can then give to someone else is a cool idea to me. You don't like starting a new story until you finish it, right? Yeah, same. I will allow myself, if I have an idea, like there's been once or twice where just being out and about, an idea will hit me, and I take a personal recorder with me a lot of places, a digital recorder. And if I can, I'll capture the idea there. And if it is forward in my brain enough, a lot of the time I'll dispel it by writing a synopsis. Like one evening, maybe an hour, a couple hours, if that, to sit down and say, here's what I thought, here's the impressions, here's kind of where I'd want to go with it, and then file it away. So I have a couple of those that I've done just that. I've just gotten the idea out, I put them aside, and see if they hang around till later. And yeah, like with the short, even with the short story thing, I've got too many going right now. There are a couple that I think are pretty strong that I'd like to finish, so I may have to take some of my short story Saturdays, instead of doing new stuff, go back and do edits and see if I can polish one or two of them off. So Paximus, you're talking about thinking about writing something. Do you have an idea of what you'd want to write? Taviad is that the person who creates the skill has to learn the skill the hard way. Can't create a servitor from a servitor. Oh, okay. Got you. Yeah, that's an interesting idea too. Create some kind of interesting possibilities to play around with in terms of some of the other guidelines or rules or implications of that. While we're sitting here, I'm going to put up another text. So I updated OBS to the latest version, which anyone who streams, you may know that, and anyone who uses OBS for their streaming, they came out with a major new version just a short while ago. And so far for me tonight, it's been stable. I've heard from other folks that they've had some issues with it, but so far so good. Oh yeah, no worries. But everything looks a little bit different. It actually looks nicer. It's more polished, and you can change the look and feel of the app, which is a nice touch. But I also went through and reorganized a bunch of stuff today, so now I have no idea where anything is. So a huge part of society is finding these prodigies, geniuses, and fast learners to do all the learning that society requires. I like that, yeah. And they make a living creating servitors that people told slates can use to perform highly skilled work. That sounds pretty cool. I like that idea. Let's see, the book idea started honestly since you were around 15 years old and never pushed it to write it. So the book was about a kid who was a bit socially inept. However, he desires to connect with others. Cool. It's a good, relatable start. I mean, yeah, it's the protagonist in my book is a socially inept 16-year-old. So similar sort of thing. Seems to be a common theme. His awkwardness, however, deters a lot of people from him, and he is alone in the world. But then, all of a sudden, he meets his someone named Hero. See, there's much more I'd put in, but like I said, it never developed. Yeah, no, same, similar sort of thing. Mine is very much that. In my case, Hero is my quote-unquote hero is a girl named Saturday, who ends up sort of challenging his conventions of what a relationship looks like. In the very start of the story, he loses someone important to him and he's tangentially at least involved with their passing. And it causes all sorts of issues and, basically self-doubt. Lots and lots and lots of self-doubt about, what it means to be who he is and what kind of person he should be. And he ends up inadvertently making their ghost, so to speak, and their ghost kind of hangs around and torments him, while he is pursuing the same sort of problematic sort of thing again, while this other character off to the side, Saturday, aka Hero, is sort of challenging his ideas of what he should pursue. A lot more, of course, but that yeah. It's the Bildungsroman. I think it's a Bildungsroman or a Bildungsroman, the coming of age story, right? Well, I'm curious to know, would you feel if you reached that point we all reach, without saying it out loud, because some people are sensitive to that, would you look back and think, oh my gosh, I wish I'd done that? This will be my first book. Yeah, I've written short stories. I wrote a lot of short stories in high school. Thought that was going to be a thing I'd pursue, and then college happened. College and, again, stereotypical story: college, career, family, mortgage, the whole thing. Not that any of that is bad. No regrets there, but it does make it difficult to pursue other things for lack of time. Yeah, and I've gotten to the point now where I'm okay with having taken this long to do it. I'm okay with probably not ever writing enough to really get it deep into the market, only because like it's so much more about I just really want to write the story, and I like that. Yeah. So you would look back and go, oh my, yeah, well, that to me is one of the strongest prompts to actually sit down and find out what happens, right? So based on what you do, you said, I remember seeing on your YouTube page that you're an educator, and like you said, you were going back for a history credential, if I remember correctly. So you're doing a lot of maybe other kinds of writing anyway, I would guess. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but you think you'd want to pursue the book? You want to look back one day and say you're glad you did it? Yeah, exactly. Yep, I know that feeling. Yeah, so that's one thing I'm kind of curious about, because one of my problems is whether it is, because I'm undiagnosed, but whether it's actual ADHD or other things, I've always struggled to get the words in my head out onto the page, and it seems like largely a mechanical issue more than I don't have ideas or I don't know what to say, right? It's yes, going back to school for the social studies. Oh, okay. Cool. That's a lot of work. That's got to be a lot of work on its own. I mean, on top of, everything else, undiagnosed here too, ADD possibly. Yeah. So I saw a description recently. Someone talking about that idea of we talked a lot about the sort of left-right division in the brain, the creativity and reason. The speaker was talking about the front to back separation, where people will have learned experiences and ideas and that kind of thing, but they can't actually get them into the language center, and so they know what they want to do, but it doesn't come forward. And a lot of people will look at that and think, what? Look, if you know what to say, just put it down. And it's it's funny, but if your brain is broken in this way, you can't explain why you can't do it, but you can't do it. So a lot of this has been learning to kind of overcome that tendency, that particular thing of oh yeah, if I'm not writing, I'll think about, there's this scene where yada, 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 and this and that, and it's all great. And then you sit down and it just doesn't want to come out. And it is a lot of work. Yeah. I guess that's the other thing too. When I started this, I gave myself a requirement, but it was tiny. It was, all I had to do was write every day, which sounds like a lot, but it's if I wrote a sentence, that would be enough. If I sat down, oriented myself around the work for a little bit, wrote something, and it could be in anything. It could be a journal entry about the work in planning. It could be notes, it could be narration, whatever it is. And that kind of got me off the ground. So this stream is actually kind of trying to, among other things, kind of take that aspect of things to the next level. Is like, cool, it's good that I've written every day. I would like to write more each day and like to take more time and get immersed. And the sprints seem to be working for that. So, and while, yeah, like a lot of writers, a lot of people I do software by day, a lot of people in that, yeah, I've definitely got the introversion thing done, but a lot of people don't realize that introversion doesn't mean you're antisocial or even asocial. It just means that you have a different sort of angle on it. So yeah, having folks around to chat with in between has been really awesome. That's really kind of you to say. Thank you. So, well, when you get started on it, do let me know. I'd love to hear how it's going. So, yeah, and I stopped by your channel, actually. I saw the trailer the other day. I showed my wife, who she also writes. So we took a look at it. And so I'm hoping to be able to join in on some of your sprints as well. I think that would be fun. Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get the next sprint going here so I can get, basically get some more writing sprints in. I'm going to set up one thing in OBS, which is arguing with me a little bit, see if I can get that done. And then we'll start it. Okay, we'll see you in 20. Can't get this thing. It's one, I guess, bug in the new one. It's not picking the correct font, but I guess that's no big deal, right? You can still read it. Well, now that works. Go figure. See, well, the other idea you're playing with in the world is that water magic is possible, using will to develop catalysts and things like that. So their understanding of chemistry is extremely advanced around the 1950s level, but they still haven't invented the Bessemer process for the mass production of steel yet. Oh, okay. So they can produce things like plastics, but only in homespun levels and no petroleum. Interesting. Okay. Well, sounds like a rich world you're building up. This thing to pick the correct font now that it decided that other one was okay. Nope, wow, that just does not like that one. Yeah, that works. So one downside of, I switched over to using a nicer mic, I don't know, a month or two back. But it requires so much more hardware sitting around my desk, it's actually kind of hard to get up and just stretch a little bit. But I'm actually going to go do some physical stretching, so I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, back again. Oh, excuse me. Or coal, or anything more hydrocarbony than peat. Yeah, they just set up constraints like that, where it forces you to have to rethink, how certain things would be done. It'd be fun. I was talking about world building earlier. It's funny. It's like I said, I don't think of what I'm working on as using a lot of world building. It absolutely does, and I do enjoy it. I've written a lot of material that will never ever end up on a public page. It's just for my own, who is that person, where did they come from, and I write it in a voice that's still uncertain. I don't write it with narrative authority. I write it from the point of view of someone who's still just witnessing a limited number of events and having limited interactions, and from that trying to piece together what's going on. But there are a lot of aspects then of certain characters in the story, that certain histories and stuff that might turn up in other stories, but it all makes for that bedrock of information, those foundational ideas that will show up indirectly on the page, but not as deep descriptions of, say, Saturday's family history or something like that. I need to get across enough to suggest that this character, Saturday, is not welcome where she grew up. That she goes out, initially she's 15 years old and living on her own in a small coastal city. That the reasons why she's unwelcome become indirectly evident throughout the story, but again, no explanation as to what it is really or why. I don't remember if you said this already, but your idea for a character is an academy burnout who becomes a slave. Yep. Yeah, I saw that earlier. So you're going to do another outline, or what you going to do with it? Pardon all the yawning. It's just par for the course. Like I said, a lot of 5 a.m. nights lately. That's got to stop. Between a big stream tomorrow on a separate channel, just kind of thinking about it at the moment. An outline probably. Cool. I like to sit on my porch in the autumn and ramble on verbally about ideas. And I'll just sit there with my recorder and kind of talk to it. Sometimes I go back and I listen to those recordings if there's something that, if I'm like, oh, I had this idea. What was it? That's really rare. I've only done that 2-3 times. Most of the time, just knowing I'm recording it is enough. And if the ideas are, I don't want to say worthwhile, but if they turn into anything that I really like, they tend to stick in my head. I don't need the recordings, so. Excuse me. But then also, let's see, later this week, I've got to work a couple days this week. Lots going on there. I've probably got to spend part of my day off tomorrow working, which is not awesome, but not end of the world either. And then we will be going to a local Comic-Con come this weekend, 1 or 2 days, so that'll be fun. But anyway, yeah, lots of stuff going on, and I keep burning myself out here, and that's not a good combo. I'm going to crash if I don't take some time and get some sleep. So tonight I'm going to do, I think, 2 more sprints. Finally making some good progress. I don't know, I've got this simple description, and it's just my brain is chasing it in loops, as happens sometimes, and I can't quite pin it down. And so even if I end up writing a fair amount of material and I like the prose and there are other things I like about it, it won't settle until I actually get clear on why I'm writing this part and what's actually going on with this character. My cat's ruining my blinds. Just a moment here. peeking his head out from under and looking at me like, what are you doing? Cats. The Tomaton, not the burnout thing. Yeah, I figured. Yeah, no, the Tomaton should be fun. Honestly, like we've had some fun moments. Like you can go and pay exorbitant fees for autographs, and that we've done that. I mean, we have signed photos from people from some of our favorite shows, and in those moments, we had some really nice interactions with those people. Now look at this guy's name. I never remember his name. Jason Isaacs, who played Lucius Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies, but also played Hook and has played some of my other favorite roles. I really, really like him as an actor. And instead of asking for a photo of Lucius Malfoy for him to sign, we asked for one of Hook, because that's a film we knew him from a lot earlier. And that really, he was really excited by that. His eyes just lit up, and we sat there and talked about the film for a minute. So you get these little brief conversations, but it can be a lot of fun. And then there are the moments too, like John Delancey, who played Q on Star Trek, was there one year, and my wife and I went up, and there was no line. It was late in the day. No one had come by which surprised the heck out of me, to get his autograph, because he's such a popular character. And so we sat there and talked to him a little bit, and he was telling us about how, he had a script that he had to go back and read that evening at the hotel, and we just talked for a little bit. It was really fun. And nice to be able to talk to people who help to make the stories that we enjoy or that inspire us in other ways. So yeah. There's also Discord. That's right. He talked about that a little bit, actually. Yeah. There was actually a really cute moment where a little girl came up to him during some Q&A panel and asked him in the way that kids and myself sometimes, frankly, where they'll ask these questions where they get lost in their ideas and they kind of ramble on, and he just sat there very attentive listening to the whole thing, and there was some question at the end that you could tell he had no idea what she'd actually asked, and he's like, well, what do you think? And she answered, she lit up, and it was a cute moment. But yeah. But so those sorts of things are fun, but honestly too, especially since there are a couple of people in my household now who have severe chronic illness that saps all of their energy. They have very little energy to play with each day, and they have to be very careful about how they use it. And that, of course, limits, when we started going to Tomatons, that wasn't really a thing yet. It was coming on, but it wasn't really there. And so we'd take the whole day and do this, that, and the other thing. And we can't really do that anymore. And I am it's funny. There's something about going to these things that I am perfectly content to kind of find a spot and sit there and watch the people go by for most of the day. Not just because of the cosplay, although that is also cool. The people who dress up and you watch for your favorite characters and themes. There's just something about the camaraderie at these things that is amazing. And this particular con has added a writer's track now. So Terry Brooks and some other authors are going to be there this year. So I'm actually also looking forward to that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I really hope they expand on that. Fingers crossed that some year soon they actually get Neil Gaiman or someone to come. That would just be mind-blowing to me. That'd be a lot of fun. And yeah, I'm glad to say that I got to shake Peter Mayhew's enormous hand before he passed away. If you don't know, Peter Mayhew is the guy who played Chewbacca. in the original Star Wars movies. So no chatting there or anything. You can imagine, long line, lots of people trying to get through, and that poor guy was already super fatigued. He was super tired. So we kind of respected that and went up and got the autograph and shook his hand and marveled at how our hand disappeared entirely inside his, and moved on. But also fun. But like I said, it's not just those moments. It was also like, I was growing up super into that Jim Henson movie called The Dark Crystal, which hopefully you've heard of. And it can be, looking back on it, there are certain parts of it where it is unapologetically fantasy. In other words, the parts where Kira is talking to the animals and she's making all these loud, burping, chirping noises, and you're looking and going, wow, that challenges my sense of normal a lot. It just has that sort of vibe to it. But man, I loved it. Saw it in the theater at least 13 times. And then, this is back when you could pay once and go, and during the quiet matinee in the middle of the week, you could just sit there and watch a couple different showings of it. And I think I probably stayed for 3 showings one day. And they were nice enough to let me. They knew I was in there. I was the only one in there some days. Yeah, and the reboot was actually really good. Shame on Netflix for that series and so many others where they're done so well, they're so well received, and they shut them down anyway. Phooey. So yeah, all of us writers, if we ever get a chance to have something made and we have a choice, let's just dream a little bit. We have a choice between being on Hulu or HBO or Netflix. Don't go for Netflix. They have no follow through, no commitment, from what I've seen. But yeah, it was, the original film based on that. Well, going to Comic-Con one year, I happened by a booth where they were selling some Dark Crystal stuff, figures and whatnot. And someone in there was also really, really into it. And so it's also those moments at the cons where you find your me too. You find that, oh yeah, I love that too. And you just sit there and geek out for a while, shamelessly, freely. You just, you both indulge in all the little sort of like, dark, dusty, neglected corners of the things that you love that this other person also, goes hunting for. But anyway, yeah, it can be a lot of fun. It's kind of our family vacation. With the pandemic, we haven't been able to go for the last couple of years. So even this year, we're risking a little bit. We have to be very, very careful about it. We'll be masking up. My family, not me, and not for any other reason than accidents and being silly about it. But I don't have my booster yet. Now that I think about it, we're realizing all the things we have not done at the last minute that we need to do beforehand. I may have to see about that. Anyway. It'll be fun, though. All right, gonna do another sprint. I'd like to get at least 2 more in before I'm done for the night. I'm in a spot where I feel like I'm finally about to lock into that thing that I was talking about that I feel like I'm missing, that will hopefully unlock the rest of the text and help me to write it. So let me update my display here again. Update a couple things. What happened there? More little quirks I'm finding in the new UI. Not terrible things. minor annoyances. And it just did it again. Stop that. Boy. Alright, I'm going to leave that alone for right now. Okay, here we go. Alright, Tati getting 20. Alrighty. I think I finally found my angle. So, and as usual, it's something that, it's a bunch of stuff I've written before that just need to kind of get in the right order or see through a different perspective. So, may come back to this later tonight. I don't know, we'll see. Like I said, I'm already kind of my eyelids are getting heavy here. So I'm going to go take some time, be with my family, and enjoy the last little bit of the evening here before I get things wrapped up for tomorrow. Well, good for you too. That's awesome. And thank you for the encouragement. I appreciate it. So, no, it's been really nice spending some time with all of you this evening. I hope you have enjoyed the rest of your evening. Have a good day tomorrow. I will be back on Wednesday, and Wednesday will be my last stream for almost a week, just because of other things going on. I'm going to take a little hiatus. So, yeah, likewise. Likewise. It makes sense in a certain way, but yeah, I'm tired. It's like, happy birthday. Hey, you too. Anyway, yeah, you too. Thanks. I appreciate it. Alrighty, sounds good. I'll see you then. Alright, take care. God bless. We'll see you again soon. Night.